Ladies and gentlemen, it is Rings of Power Day. How amazing for everyone involved. Right now, at the time of watching this video, you can be treated to not one, not two, but 3 full episodes to potentially drive up watch hours, or it looks at least like somebody's paying attention to this crap. It's not about the graciousness of Amazon's heart. They're trying to artificially boost any kind of viewership. Is it going to work? Probably not. We've seen all of the promotional material. We've heard from the idiots behind the scenes what they're prioritizing, what they think the audience wants out of a traditional Tolkien tale. Meanwhile, they do nothing to pay respect to actual Tolkien. But don't worry, guys, this is going to follow the lore more closely than Season 1 did. That means we're going to have more bombastic fights like Game of Thrones. Anyways, Lord of the Rings of Power Season 2 release schedule. When is episode 1, 2, and 3 set to debut on Prime Video? Well, it's dropping in the middle of the night, August 29th. So when you wake up Thursday morning, wherever you find yourself, you can have 3 full hours of unmitigated boredom. Perhaps you woke up in the middle of the night. You had to take a leak or something like that. Maybe you were thirsty, had to go get a drink, and you just are having a bitch of a time trying to go back to bed. Well, you can just put on a couple of minutes of this, and I'm sure it'll knock you out just like that. And then in subsequent weeks, for the next 5, in fact, first thing Thursday morning, you will be greeted to another installment of this fantasy franchise, or this fantasy series, rather. Let's not try to attach this to Lord of the Rings any more than it needs to be, okay? Because this right here is Rings of Power. What Peter Jackson did in the early 2000s, not what he's going to be doing into the future with Warner Brothers. That's Lord of the Rings. The books, the audio dramas, the original animated stuff. That's Lord of the Rings. This is just fanfic trash made by blue-pilled simps and broads who just want to come in and ruin the fun for everybody who enjoys proper fantasy, because that's who they're catering to. And I've pointed this out on numerous occasions. There's a reason that everything is marketed towards women, okay? Pay attention to a commercial, and you try to play this fun game of find the competent man. At this point in time, they're even taking a dunk on black guys, okay? Nobody who's safe, who's got an XY chromosome. Unless, of course, you're fighting broads at the Olympics, then, it just gets into a murky gray area. They're the ones with the disposable income. They're the ones more likely to follow trends than their male counterparts. So yes, everything is catered towards women. Just take a look at the rise of the she-economy forecast, where by 2030, the future is female. Prognostication will manifest, and there will be more box wine enthusiasts than you will be able to shake a stick at. Or a stick from Bad Dragon at. The Lord of the Rings of Power actress Moyfrid Clark, yes, Galadriel, claims Galadriel is cosmically connected to Sauron. Who cares, bro? There's interesting stuff that you could be telling about the Second Age. Hell, there's a pretty cool story that Galadriel goes on during that Second Age, but you aren't interested in telling that. Hell, you're just also wondering, okay, like, what would Galadriel's husband have to say about this? Where's Celeborn? Where's Celeborn exactly? I'm sure we'll find him this year. Be quite the plot point. And why does she always have a facial expression like somebody just ripped a fat fart right out of camera frame? And what's with these Spanx? Like, this is supposed to be a $1 billion production, and that's what your costume design looks like? Oy. Moyfrid Clark, the actress who plays Galadriel, claims that her character is cosmically connected to Sauron and the Lord of the Rings of Power. Sauron, Halbrand, Anatar, whatever you want to call him, the dude with the goofy wig. Speaking with Games Radar, Clark stated she agreed with Charlie Vickers' assertion that Galadriel and Sauron share a psychic connection. I'd agree with him. I think there is. Well, that's fantastic. They're both magical, powerful beings, and I think there's something lonely to existing in that kind of sphere that they are both in. Yeah, he's pure evil incarnate, and you're supposed to have a husband and kid in the lore right now, but this is supposed to be far more lore accurate this time around. But yeah, there's some sort of cosmic connection that I've heard Charlie mention a few times. She added, it was like, nice, I like that. Yeah, we'll go with it. It'll go on for thousands and thousands of years. No, it really doesn't, though. But it does in this whole ass fanfic that you guys are putting on. Vickers, who plays Sauron, informed Games Radar at San Diego Comic-Con in July of his theory. I think they're connected, if not by proximity, but by their psyche. Oh yeah, I guess in the first season, Galadriel was awfully evil, so it does kind of make sense. He explained they're higher beings, so I'm sure it runs deeper than being in the same place together. I think the fact that when she turns him down at the end of season 1, he becomes an incel and plots out a nice place to construct the Tower of Barad-dûr with his hair flowing through the volcanic winds while Creed is playing in the background. It pisses him off quite a bit. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't part of him that thinks I can get her to join me. Oh my god, why would you, man? She was so insufferable in the first season, but this is what they want to tell. Not sweet stories of awesome battles. Not telling the tale of the Númenóreans. Not getting into the real tale behind the creation of the actual Rings of Power. You gotta set that ship between Galadriel and Halbrand, Sauron, Anatar off into the ocean, because that's who your target audience is, okay? Susanna Polos of the world, Rings of Power Season 2 is a win for better gender representation in Middle-earth, because at the end of the day, they don't like this stuff. They just want to pervert it. They just want to ruin it because they see other people having fun. And who's the they that I'm talking about? It's women, man. At this point in time, I think it's irrefutable. Women don't belong in fantasy. Or in Histrich, who ran The Witcher right into the ground. Lindsay Weber, who's the showrunner above J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay. She's a bland-looking blonde woman. I wonder where she got her inspiration from. Why is everything about relationships and connections? Why is the Wheel of Time something else that, Amazon is also bastardized? Why is that all about feelings and relationships where there should not be any? I'm so glad that we actually did get The Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, back in the early 2000s. We got it when we did, because if it was going to be created now, you'd better believe that Merry and Pippin would be in a little bit more of a close relationship than they were. Same with Sam and Frodo, and perhaps Legolas would be far more effeminate than he actually appears, and perhaps Boromir wouldn't get his redemption at the end of Fellowship because he would have accosted the new female companion in the Fellowship, who ultimately smites the mouth of Sauron at the Black Gate and then also takes him on in the field when he takes full physical manifestation. I hate it. I hate all of it. But this is what these freaks want. They don't want anything good. They just want their own pet ideology reinforced, and when it ultimately fails, they just use that same attention that they got for all of their stupid ideas to run it back and play victim. The prequelization of pop culture has become so common it's nearly a parody in and of itself. Do we really need to know how Han got his last name Tholo? Why Pierrot grew a mustache, that Cruella de Vil's mom was murdered by Dalmatians. Okay, you make some good arguments to begin with, but I know this is going to go off a cliff. But that doesn't mean that there are no soft places in the stories we know that are worth exploring, and that there are millions of those in Middle-earth. And there are. You just chose not to adapt any of them. And with this week's San Diego Comic-Con trailer for Season 2, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, we've just seen a new one. Often I've cried, hey, Rings of Power, show me an Entwife. I hate you. I hate you so much. You could do that. You're in the right time period. And lo, Rings of Power has answered. Here you go. Yeah, I don't want to have, like, compelling characters, compelling stories. I just want to see a female tree because reasons. This isn't the only work of Tolkien that's getting bastardized. I've talked about this before and how cool it looked to begin with, but it's another girl boss subversion. Now the trailer, and Warner Brothers strikes down anybody who plays more than a couple of frames of their material. I will summarize. There you have Helm Hammerhand, the namesake for Helm's Deep. He gives his daughter, who's not but made of one or two passing mentions in his source material in the Silmarillion. She gets the pep talk that she's so wise and brave and strong and wonderful, and she's going to be the key to everything. But yeah, the War of the Rohirrim trailer brings Lord of the Rings into the anime age. Anime is a style. Anime is animation, colloquially referred to as coming out of Japan. These are the idiots that are out there. The visual style is slick. The source material is being bastardized, and if you think you're going to get anything approximating a female character like you had with Éowyn from the original trilogy in this, you're sadly mistaken, because everything coming out today is seemingly made for a modern audience, and if it isn't, it will be bastardized into the future. It makes me sick to my stomach. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.